Okay, this is just a video to help walk parents through the S.O.A.R registration process for the TCDSB. So if you're going to apply to any of the TCDSB high schools, but particularly to St. John Paul II, this is just a quick step-by-step video to show you how to do it. So the first thing that you want to do is you're going to go to tcdsb.org, and that'll bring you to the board's website. And then you're going to go under Parents. You can click on Parents right there. And then you're going to come down here to the point that says Admissions and Registration. So this is to gain admissions to the school. So we'll click on that one. And then there's Elementary, which is the first step. But then really what you want to go up is the Secondary School Online Application Process. So it's that easy, 3 clicks. Just a few things that we want to do here to keep notice is that there is an online application. This is a parent guide. We'll get to that in a second. But the most important is the dates that are here. So these are the very time-sensitive dates that you need to know for this year, for the 2019 registration year. It's going to get for those students starting grade 9 in 2020, September 2020. So you'll see here that on October 15th is when the S.O.A.R secondary will open. And you can go to this page and then this link will be live. Right now it's not a live link, but on October 15th, it will be open. And October 29th is when it will close. So what you need to do is the initial deadline date is for specialty programs. And for our school, the specialty program is the IB program, the International Baccalaureate. And any regular program online applications have to be done at this point. If you don't fill it out until after the 29th, it will, the note is right here, they'll go directly to the waiting list, which means I won't even see it. Principals won't even see it until much later in the process, after January. So you want to make sure that you put it on there right then. So then when will admissions offers be sent out? Wave 1 is for all of our specialty programs. So different schools have different specialty programs. At St. John Paul II, we have IB. So if you're not applying to IB, if you're just applying to the regular program, you won't hear on November 21st. What we want to do is make sure that all the specialty programs are filled up so that everybody knows who's left and who are actual people that are going to be on that list. So the 21st is when all the specialty program offers are sent out, and then parents have until from the 22nd to the 26th to accept or decline those offers. And they'll come electronically. The next one is November 28th, where we will go into a second wave of acceptances to specialty programs. And those parents have between November 29th and December 3rd to accept. So the hope is that in 2019, by December 3rd, we will have all of the specialty programs filled up, or at least with the amount of people who actually want to be in them. And then on January 9th, 2020, Wave 3 offers. And this will be for anybody into the regular program. So if you're not applying, when it comes to JPII, if you're not applying to IB, this is everybody else. The vast majority of people will hear on January the 9th. You will get an email. Parents have between January 10th, hugely important. Parents have between January 10th and January 14th to accept or the application, the acceptance, or to or go on the redirect list. So this is all what happens in this day. If you don't, then you automatically go into Wave 4, which will be redirections to other places. And after Wave 4 really is ongoing from January 15th through to September. If things change, if you move, if something happens, we'll be accepting people sort of along the way or not, depending on if there are enough people who are applying to us. At JPII, we generally take somewhere in the vicinity of 330 to 340 students. And so if we fill up by Wave 3, then we're done. And so you got to make sure that your timing is right. And since it's done online, it's not an application you can just drop off. It's important that we note that that's what we have. Okay, so really important that you're here on these dates. Super important. Now, the key is you can click on here and up will come a parent guide, a PDF. You can download this and keep it. I highly suggest you do it. It is a really thorough document. It's an excellent document. It walks you through sort of page by page of stuff. And we'll just go through it. There's a lot of things here, but really it does walk you through kind of step by step what you are to do. So it'll tell you the first thing is you go to that site. Again, it's on that, or you can just go to secsoar.tcdsb.org. There's nothing there yet. It won't be open until on the 15th. It gives you some tips. Big one is be prepared. Make sure you have whatever you need to do and all the stuff ready to go, and that you are aware of what's happening. And it goes through everything that you need to have. Now, again, if you are, and it's got all the dates again on here, so a great resource, really, really it is. The key here is, if you're logging in, it's a very different experience for those who are coming from Toronto Catholic elementary schools and those coming from any other board. So whether it's a public board or if it's a board in Durham or York or whatever, or a private school, it's a much different process. It's the same site, but if you're coming from the TCDSB, most of the stuff will be already filled in for you because we already have your information. But the first step is you will be prompted to create an account. Now, this is important. You have to, when you create an account, and it'll bring you to a screen that looks like this, you need to have an email address. So you put in all your information, but the email is hugely important. If you're coming from the TCDSB, and it's up on this note here, if you're coming from a TCDSB, you have to use the email account that you have on file with the elementary school. So my suggestion is that you check what email they have. There would have been student information sheets that have gone out earlier in the year. Maybe you've already checked it. Great. But you got to make sure that the email that you're going to use now will be that. If you don't use that email, you will not be able to create an account because they won't be able to find your child. If you're coming from a non-TCDSB elementary school, use an email that you actually use and that you check. Because remember, you only have a week to accept offers, and if you miss it, you miss it. So you got to make sure that you're using one that you have done and that you have. So you put all that information in there, you create a password, make sure you remember that password, because again, that's going to be yours. And again, this will be the warning that comes up if you put in an email that they cannot find as a TCDSB student. So we want to make sure you're using the right one. To give you some password advice here, you will then get, as soon as you create an account, you'll get an activation. So this is two-step security to make sure that who it is having access to your child's records is actually accurate. You won't be able to do anything until you get this email, and then you verify your account here. Okay, so that's important. They'll send you an email to the email address you give, and then you verify, and then your account is active. Okay, and then you go back and you sign in with that email and that password, and then you're in. And so and then they'll walk you through step by step what you're going to do. It's really, really important. The first thing is that you have the right information with you. And then you will go through all the student information stuff will be, again, if you're coming from a TCDSB elementary school, if your child's enrolled in one of those, all of this information will be pre-populated for you. You should check it over though. Make sure it's right. If it's not right, if something is wrong, you can't change it here. You have to go to your elementary school to change it. They'll change it for you, and it'll be much better to do it that way. If you're coming from a non-TCDSB school, you have to fill all of this stuff out. Make sure it's accurate, make sure it's right, because this is what we're going to use to contact you. And then you'll get to this screen. This is the information. You're going to pick what grade, and you're coming into grade 9, obviously. Let me make that a little bit bigger so we can see. You're in grade 9. You're going to pick which level you want to have most courses. You're not picking any courses at this point, just to give a general idea. Applied, academic, locally developed. Again, academic is if you're tracking toward university. Applied is if you're tracking maybe more toward a college program. And locally developed is more if you're thinking about work or trades, something like that afterwards. Again, there's no higher level or lower level. That's nothing about that. But what it is, and you're not signing up for anything, you're just giving an indication. So do that. Then it will say here, click. You have to click a regular program, okay, or you won't be clicking anything. If you want to choose one of the IBs, that's a different resource, and we've gone over how to do that. But you have to choose this regular program. And then it will take you to what school you want to choose, okay? So if you attend one of our elementary schools, it'll say this is your home school based on your address, and it'll be there. Now, say you're attending an elementary school that is out of your area. So for instance, if you're in a specialty program or if you moved recently, it'll give you both, and you're going to have to pick which you want your home school to be, because that'll just indicate what's the closest high schools to you. Now, you can apply to any high school you want, but you have to understand that our board's admission policy is based upon concentric circles, which means that if I have 300 spots for grade 9 and I have 700 applicants, I have to start accepting those who live closest to me. So whose elementary school, their home school is closest to me. So you're going to have to pick which elementary school you are. And then it'll show you the closest high schools. You pick one. If you're applying to St. John Paul II, find St. John Paul II, pick us. And then you're going to pick regular program. We do not have French immersion. We do not have extended French. So it won't even come up. You'll pick regular program. You'll pick St. John Paul II. Here is if your child has a sibling that will be attending, it should say 2020. If you're attending, if you have a child who will be attending, so the way our board works is, if your child has a sibling who's attending next year, then they automatically get it. So if you click yes, you'll put your name, first name and grade in September. We'll check this. This isn't just automatic. We will check this, and if it's wrong, then we will dismiss it. But to make sure you put all that stuff in here, okay? And then you also have to choose a redirection. So if, for instance, you choose a school that's not close to you, you want to try, and then we fill up, then you have to pick a secondary school. I mean, a redirection choice. If you can't get into your first choice, what's your second choice? Make sure you choose wisely. This might come up, so you want to make sure you pick that. And then there's a whole bunch and this guide has a whole bunch of pages about what to do for all of the specialty programs. Here's ours, is the IB program, but there's a whole bunch of pages here. If you're just applying to the regular program, you don't need to worry about these ones, but it does give you a little bit of a show about what there is there. And we're going to skip ahead to where we're going back to the regular program. Skip ahead. Then we'll come up with a religion verification. You just click that if it's proper, if you have that. And then there's contact information. Again, all this stuff should be filled out. Again, like it says here, S.O.A.R extracts this information from your child's electronic student record. If you have corrections, you have to go to your elementary school. If you're coming from a non-TCDSB school, you have to fill all this stuff out. And then you have to fill out all of this information. Again, if you're coming from our board, check it. Make sure it's accurate. This is the lifeline. This is the stuff that we're going to have that will help us serve your children. But if you're new, you get to fill it out as you go. Make sure you're correct. You're filling in everything that you go through. Medical conditions are hugely important. Make sure you're very clear about that, as much as allergies or anything regarding like a puffer or any sort of EpiPens, those sorts of things. There is a voluntary Indigenous self-identification part that's there as well that you can do. And then it'll just do the current school. And this is if you're coming from a non-TCDSB elementary school. You'll have to fill this part out. It just says where you're coming from, so we know if we have to contact the school, if we have to send a package to the school, those sorts of things. We have all that information. And then this is hugely important. You have to consent. You have to click this that says you consent to allow us access to your information. So what that means is you're not a student of ours. You're not a student of ours. Even if we accept you, you're not a student of ours until you show up. So for us to have access to any information, to be able to contact your elementary school, to be able to request an O.S.R, we need to have this clicked. So please, absolutely click, yes, I understand the above process and I consent. This is obviously you are. If you want them to come to our school, make sure you click that one, okay? Click that. There's a privacy statement that says, I've read it, I understand that privacy statement. And then you submit, and that's it. Again, if you're applying to the IB program, there's a few more steps that are involved in that, and there's we will go over that differently. But this is that regular program. So the most important kind of two-step process to that is that you're back at the TCDSB website, and that you're going to parents, and then you're going into the secondary school online application process, and it brings you here, and it's got all of our dates, and it's got the step-by-step process. Very key. I would say the one piece of information that's really important is that email address. Make sure it's an email address that you use and that you have access to. There won't be any phone calls that go along with it. We won't be putting anything in the mail. It'll be through that email process. Okay, that's very important. Make sure you have everything. If there's any questions, please don't hesitate to ask us. And thank you so much for considering St. John Paul II.